Hi there. Mm, Welcome to the new session. Today in this session, we are going to discuss Unit 5. We are going to start our last unit in this international business. So that is international business operations. So operations that involving in international business. We are going to discuss about that, some of the topics in this session. And coming to the things, the operations which would involve in an international business. So the activities, same as domestic business, all the activities like production, planning, just marketing, uh, facilities, or plant location, kind of machinery or the plant that we use. All these are as same as in domestic markets, like uh, international, same as in international business also. But the only difference is its scale of operation or scale of production, or the place where you are operating. All these things will change. So we are going to discuss about such kind of business operations, international business operations in this unit. So the topics that are involved, the first important topic that you should know about international production is the major issues or the factors that affect international operations or production. So that we are going to discuss in this session. So the first thing is the issues involving international production. So the business, to sustain in the market, it need to earn profits and thus have to closely examine the factors of production, as production constitutes an essential component for any business. So production involves all the activities from manufacturing, acquiring, development, all these things, right? So any business to sustain in the market, whether it can be domestic market or international market, it can be any market, right? So to sustain in the market, any kind of business need to earn money, or means need to earn profits. So when can we earn profits means if we properly utilize the factors of production, so then you can earn the profits. So these factors of production or the part of production, we all know land, labor, capital, organization, technology. So all these are the factors of production. So now, not only just producing goods, converting inputs into outputs, but also so many activities would be involving in production process. If you see, so just procurement of the raw material, so converting that into output, and then releasing it into the market, at the same time doing some changes in our product. So all these things also constitutes the operations of the business, right? So elaborately we see, so what are the factors that affecting this production? So we categorize these factors affecting the production into three ways, into three uh, scales. One is facility location, scale of operation, and cost of production. So these three are the major important factors that affecting production. So facility location means, so location, the plant where your manufacturing organization is located, that is very important. Because suppose if you if it is not that much easy to access that area through proper transportation or through proper mode of transportation, so then it would be difficult. The transportation cost will be increased, time will be it will be time consuming process. So all these things, so it is it the place where you are selecting to do your manufacturing organization should have kind of facilities regarding its proximity, customers proximity, regarding its area, regarding the availability of the skilled labor, kind of zones, availability of suppliers, environmental policies, all these things you need to consider whenever you are whenever you are selecting a location to do your business, right? So appropriate location to do business, or to start a manufacturing organization or manufacturing firm, uh, appropriate location is very important, right? Appropriate location means the facilities, so facilities should be there uh, should be available or easily accessible in that location, right? So it should be easily accessible to customers, workers, and also it should have easy transportation also. So once if customers are unable to access your firm, sometimes so you may lose the customers. At the same time, workers. So if it is difficult for the workers to reach the organization, again, uh, some kind of problems we are going to face. So to overcome all these things, the facility location is very important. So while you are selecting a location, business location, these are the factors that you need to consider. So one, the first factor that you need to consider is customer proximity. Proximity means availability, right? So customer proximity, so means availability to the customer, how they are reaching. So easy mode of transportation, or it is very difficult to reach over there, right? It is not a kind of holiday spot or resort to come once a while and to go. So but it is a business, you want to earn profits through that. So the place where you are selecting your organization or your outlet should be easily accessible to the customers. So transportation cost or time, all these things you need to consider whenever you are selecting. And also the area, what kind of area you are selecting to start your business. So whether it is a business area or it is a commercial area or residential area, that kind of things you need to check it out. And a skilled labor, so nearer to your location, so is skilled labor or available or not, that you need to check. Free trade zones, we all know zones, we all know economic integrations, what in which zone that it comes, whether it is coming in special economic zone or so that free trade zone or free trade markets, that you need to check whenever you are starting your launching your business. And also regarding the availability of suppliers and the environmental policies that existing in that particular area, which one you have selected. Okay, so while selecting the business location, all these things you need to consider, like customer proximity, business area, availability of skilled labor, free trade zone, suppliers, environmental policies, all these things, right? So that is the first important factor that affecting production. So the next one is the next scale of operations. We all know scale of operations means the range of operations, whether it is operating in small business or large business. And based upon the size, your production may depend. Based upon the demand, your production may depend. So all these things comes under scale of operations. Means scale of operation is, here it is nothing but size of your business, right? So the first sentence here I gave you is that only. The size of business is referred as scale, right? The size of business can be controlled by management, volume of discounts and dealings, all those things. So the process by which all the resources are allocated and optimized in order to obtain the best result in the market is known as operating at business at scale. So the efforts are optimized, new customers can be acquired, and more market share can be occupied and attained. And you can control the cost, you can increase the sales volumes, right? So here you see small scale business, large scale business. Small scale business is of one range, means which employ less number of workers, whose production is less, whose volume of sales is less, right? So whereas large scale, on the basis of the country and the industry, the large scale, the difference between small scale business and large scale business would be changed. So more than the criteria of the small scale, we'll call it as large scale business. Okay, economies of scale, we all know economies of scale, how it is working, whether it is operating under increasing economies to scale, constant economies of scale, and decreasing economies of scale. We discussed it many times. So based on that economies of scale, the cost benefits or size of operations or size of production, or if it means the cost per unit will be dependent, right? So this is scale of operations. Means scale of operation is nothing but the size of the business. So whether you are running small scale business or large scale business, right? So if it is small scale business, the employees would be less and the volume of sales also will be less. So whereas in large scale, the employees would be more, and the production size and the volume of sales would be more. So this criteria, small or large, will be changed on the basis of the country and also on the basis of the industry. And every business wants to work in economies of scale, whether it is increasing economies of scale or constant economies of scale, right? So next important factor that contributing or that affecting production is cost of production. We all know cost of production. What is cost of production? Cost of production is nothing but the cost is being incurred in order to produce a good or in order to deliver a service is nothing but cost of production. So many cost concepts we discussed earlier. So cost concepts like fixed cost, variable cost, semi fixed cost, controllable cost, uncontrollable, avoidable, unavoidable, next opportunity cost, explicit cost, implicit cost. So all these are different types of costs that are incurred in order to produce a product, right? So usually we consider the fixed cost and the variable cost. The major cost that involved in producing the product is fixed cost and variable cost. Fixed cost is fixed throughout the production, we all know. Variable cost will change according to the level of production. So that cost of production you need to consider. So these three are the major factors that affecting production, right? So facility location, the location of the manufacturing firm, the scale of operation, and the cost of production. So these are the factors that affecting production. And also we'll see a new concept, that is vertical integration, right? So vertical integration, what is vertical integration? Okay, before going to vertical integration, let us see what is integration. Integration means so joining hands. We economic integration, we have seen regional integration. In those concepts I told you, integration is nothing but joining hands with some other, right? So now vertical integration. So now if you see, an organization is there, suppose consider organization B. B is an organization, so which is manufacturing some goods. So now if you see, A is an organization which supply raw materials to B, right? C is an organization which distributes the produced goods of B. So now ABC, if A, B, and C, if three of these organizations are integrated together, so then that we call it as a vertical integration. Okay, so vertical integration means so joining hands with our suppliers or with the retailers, right? That would be called as vertical integration. Suppose if you join with other manufacturing organization, take an example D. There is no relationship uh, between B and D in the production process. So B is a kind of organization, one organization which produces good, and D is also an organization which produces goods. So now if B and D join together, that would be called as a horizontal integration, right? So vertical integration means so an organization would depend on other organizations also. Suppose if suppliers are there, so our organization B dependent, it is dependent on the suppliers of the raw materials, or it is dependent on organization C, like distributors of our goods, right? So we are dependent on the other organization. So in order to uh, gain some of the benefits, if we collaborate, if AB collaborates, that would be called as vertical integration. BC collaborates, that is also called as vertical integration. If ABC three also collaborates, that also we call it as vertical integration. Okay, I hope you understood the concept of vertical integration. So let us see what are the things involved in this, right? So vertical integration is a strategy whereby a company owns or controls its suppliers, distributors, or retailers' location to control the value or the supply chain. So to control the supply chain, the major reason for collaborating or integrating with the suppliers or with the distributors is to manage or to control the supply chain. Vertical integration has so many benefits like process control, cost control, it improves efficiencies. And also, however, vertical integration has its benefits. It has disadvantages, like the amount of the capital investment will be sometimes increased. Okay, vertical integration occurs so when a company assumes control over several of the production factors involved in the creation of its product or service in a particular market. Okay, so it can also be called as involves purchasing a part of the production or sales process that previously outsourced to have it done in house. Means if you see, if it is distribution, we usually don't distribute the goods. Once if manufacturing firm produces the goods, if it transfers it to outlets or to some other places, right? So the distributors, the agents like retailers or the wholesalers or the distributors will come into existence, and they'll look after all the other things, right, distributing the goods. So now we are just, it is a kind of outsourcing. Now we are taking that outsourcing back. And if you see the suppliers of the raw material, we don't bother about how he is bringing, or from where he is bringing, what is the transportation cost, all those we don't bother. We bother only bringing that raw material into your manufacturing organization. Now if you are having this vertical integration, you have to look after how raw material is procuring and how it will be brought, and from there how it will be brought to your organization after after production, how the goods will be distributed. So what are the methods that you need to follow in order to attract the customers? All these things you need to carry on your own hands, right? So you'll have uh, you'll involve in this purchasing part of production, also sales part. So means you'll involve in purchasing process at the same time in sales process also. So companies usually integrate by purchasing their supplies to reduce the cost of manufacturing. Suppose if they have joined hands or integrated with the suppliers, some production cost may decrease. So companies usually integrate because to reduce that kind of production cost. And if you see, there are two types of vertical integration methods. So one is backward integration and one is forward integration. Let us see what is backward integration and what is forward integration. So backward integration is when a company expands back on the production path in manufacturing, meaning a retailer buys the manufacture of their products. Okay, uh, means it is going back. It is having it is integrating with going back. Means suppose if it is integrated with the suppliers of the raw material, then that would be called as backward integration, right? Forward integration means if it is integrating with the distributors, right? So then that would be called as forward integration. Okay, if you are after before production, if you join in hands with an organization before production process, then that would be called as backward integration. After production process, if you joined your hands, then that would be called as forward integration. Okay, so this is about vertical integration and types. So vertical integration is of two types, backward and forward. If you join hands with the, suppose if I take three organizations like A, B, and C. If B joins with A, then that is backward integration. If B joins with C, that is forward integration. So where A is supplier of raw material, where C is distributor of the goods. So means this is a purchasing process and this is sales process. Okay. Now coming to other concept, that is sourcing. What is sourcing? Sourcing means, what is international sourcing? So international sourcing is nothing but a practicing or a practice of gaining global markets for goods and services. Means we are trying to source, we are finding the origins, or we are getting a channel from where we are going to get the goods and services across the political boundaries, right? Across the geopolitical boundaries. Means we are doing international business, so we have to do international sourcing. So internationally, so beyond the boundaries, how we are going to procure all kinds of goods and services, from where we are going to get. So identifying the source from where we are going to find goods and services across the borders is nothing but international sourcing. Okay, international sourcing is sourcing from global markets for goods and services across the geopolitical boundaries. That would be called as international sourcing. So that is written here. If you observe that international sourcing is the practice of sourcing from global markets for goods and services across geopolitical boundaries. Okay, so international sourcing often aims to get exploit, in the sense grab, exploit or grab global efficiencies to deliver products or services. So it wants to acquire where it is, where we can grab the things. So where the goods and services are available, and how can we grab it and how can we deliver it. So all these things that would be included in this sourcing. And also it just try to find out where the skilled labor will be available, skilled labor at the same time low cost. So where good raw material is available at low cost, and other economic factors like taxes, where tax breaks or tax benefits are available, where low trade tariffs are available. So means, so we are finding out or we are grabbing the opportunities where these are available. So where skilled labor is available at low cost, where raw material is available at low cost. So where taxes are, finding out the location where taxes are free, finding out the region where tariffs are less. So all these things will be, factors will be considered whenever you are sourcing uh, global markets for goods and services. So a large number of information technology projects and services includes this, right? This kind of things. So all these things they usually search, and they'll find where, which location is suitable. In that location they'll start their business. Usually information technology, it, where it is developed, where can we gain uh, resource human resources, means resourceful labor. So all those things they'll consider, and they'll start their businesses. And what are the reasons for these international sourcing? uh, the major reasons, if you see, so learning how to do business in a potential markets, right? In this sense, in finding out or in grabbing these kind of things like skilled labor or raw material or taxes, tariffs, less taxes. So we'll find a potential market. So in that, how to do a business. Okay. So in that situation, how to do a business, and tapping into skills or resources unavailable domestically. So means domestically they are unavailable. For us, domestically it is unavailable. But if you go globally, what will happen? We'll get skilled labor, or we'll get raw material which is unavailable in our markets. So if you go global, so you will get all these kind of things like skills, resources, all those benefits you are going to get which are unavailable in your domestic markets. So, and developing alternative supplier vendor sources to stimulate competition. So means, in order to stimulate or to sustain in the competition, so we should have suppliers and the sellers also, vendors in the sense, those who sell, or the distributor, you can, or the other name for supplier, the supplier or the vendor for either it can be purchasing or it can be in sales. So if you are, I already mentioned, if you dependent on a single supplier or a single vendor, you have to face problems, right? So if you have alternative suppliers or alternative vendors, then easily you can sustain in the market, you can sustain in the competition. So if you go globally, or if you find out these international sourcing, if you are able to know the global markets for goods and services, so you can easily stimulate competition, you can easily stimulate in this competition. So many suppliers or many vendors are available, so that would be easy for you. And increasing total supply capacity, right? So we will go globally, means, so we have to concentrate on more markets. So based on that, more number of customers also will be there, so your capacity, your supply capacity also will be increased. So if you are able to procure low cost raw material, you can easily produce more number of goods. If you are able to get skilled labor, you can produce more number of goods. So all these things, all these are the reasons for international sourcing. Learning how to do business in a potential market and tapping skills or resources available which are unavailable domestically. Also, to sustain in the competition, you'll have alternatives like the suppliers and vendors, and you increase your supply capacity. So these are all the reasons for international sourcing. And coming to the challenges, so challenges are nothing but the difficulties. So the difficulties over there, what you can see is different cultures and different time zones. Okay, so hidden cost associated with different cultures and different time zones, because if you are acting globally, if you are sourcing international global sourcing, then time zones will be different, cultures will be different. So political risk, financial risk, right? Sometimes loss of intellectual property rights, and sometimes to monitor all those things, increased monitoring cost. When we compare with the domestic supply, the costs of monitoring all those things means global sourcing, the cost of global sourcing will be increased. And some of the disadvantages like lead times, risk shutdowns, interrupting supply, difficulty in monitoring product quality. So all these things will be the challenges, right? So though you go for globally, if you find all these things, sometimes it increases or it affects you with their culture, time zones, political risk, financial risk, loss of intellectual property, and monitoring cost, and some other uninterrupted. Sometimes it would be your production would be interrupted by supply, or because of some of the difficulties in monitoring your production cost or product cost. All these things will be the challenges that is involved in international sourcing. Okay, so in this session we discussed about uh, the issues involving in international production, and what are the factors that affecting international production, that is facility location, scale of operation, cost of production. And also we have seen vertical integration. What is a vertical integration? What are the types of vertical integration? Backward integration and forward integration. And sourcing, international sourcing, what are the reasons for international sourcing, and what are the challenges of international sourcing? Okay, so in the next session we discuss the next other topics. So far we discussed three important concepts in this unit: production, means issues in business operations, integration, vertical integration, and sourcing. Okay, so these are all the topics we covered today. Tomorrow we'll discuss other things. So if you have any doubts in this session, you just reach me. Thank you.